I arrived home on Friday evening, thinking that after a hard week on the plane, I would be able to have a good time in the company of my pretty wife. 3 more or less independent children live separately. We are after 22 years of marriage. Maybe we could go somewhere and have a nice evening. I walked into the kitchen from the garage and looked at the mail on the kitchen table. I heard a noise upstairs and then the sound of feet going down the steps. My attractive 45-year-old wife walked into the living room wearing a short robe that never failed to excite me whenever she put it on. "Oh," she exclaimed, "you're early. I didn't expect you until an hour or so later." I looked at my watch and realized that I had arrived early. "But it's not too early. What is this for? Where are we going?" "Well, I'm leaving. I don't know what you're doing," she said. "Okay, my weekend just went down the drain." "What do you mean you're leaving? Where and with whom?" Her gaze fell on a small bag of things standing at the end of the sofa. I have a date with William Strathmore. This is for the weekend. I'll be home Sunday night and we'll talk about it." What the hell did she just say? I thought. I need to finish getting ready. She turned and ran upstairs, and I heard the door slam. "The fuck you're going to do this," I said to myself. My first thought was that I needed reinforcements. I took out my mobile phone and dialed my daughter's number. I wasn't going to be the bad guy because of what my wife said. "Hello, Daddy, what's the matter?" she answered cheerfully. I grabbed her mother's purse and emptied the contents onto the coffee table. "I need you to come here immediately. Your mother hurt her head and she needs us." "I have to go, Dad," I heard, hanging up. My son received the same message with the addition, "Call your brother and tell him to come here fast." "Dad, what the fuck?" But I ended the conversation. Then I quickly dialed her parents and said the same thing. They had the same confusion and a few screams when I passed out Judith's purse. Spilled out the usual contents: credit cards, keys, 12 packs of Trojan condoms, I had a vasectomy, and a copy of the confirmation email from the Marriott Hotel in Kenworth, rooms 703 to 710. The fuck, I thought. William Strathmore was one of the paediatric surgeons at her work. I've met him at a hospital Christmas party a few times over the past 5 years, and the guy was slimy, and "Well, I'm leaving. I don't know what you're doing," she said. "Okay, my weekend just went down the drain." "What do you mean you're leaving? Where and with whom?" Her gaze fell on a small bag of things standing at the end of the sofa. I have a date with William Strathmore. This is for the weekend. I'll be home Sunday night and we'll talk about it." What the hell did she just say? I thought. I need to finish getting ready. She turned and ran upstairs, and I heard the door slam. "The fuck you're going to do this," I said to myself. My first thought was that I needed reinforcements. I took out my mobile phone and dialed my daughter's number. I wasn't going to be the bad guy because of what my wife said. "Hello, Daddy. What's the matter?" she answered cheerfully. I grabbed her mother's purse and emptied the contents onto the coffee table. "I need you to come here immediately. Your mother hurt her head and she needs us." "I have to go, Dad," I heard, hanging up. My son received the same message with the addition, "Call your brother and tell him to come here fast." "Dad, what the fuck?" But I ended the conversation. Then I quickly dialed her parents and said the same thing. They had the same confusion and a few screams when I passed out Judith's purse. Spilled out the usual contents: credit cards, keys, 12 packs of Trojan condoms, I had a vasectomy, and a copy of the confirmation email from the Marriott Hotel in Kenworth, rooms 703 to 710. The fuck, I thought. William Strathmore was one of the paediatric surgeons at her work. I've met him at a hospital Christmas party a few times over the past 5 years, and the guy was slimy, and that was the best thing I could say about him. His wife was stunningly beautiful, but I got the impression that she had problems with him. I confiscated credit cards and car keys, then I took the email and put it in my pocket, just in case. I took my mobile phone and opened it. Her code was our anniversary date. safety. Hey, she was still busy upstairs, so I pulled out the emergency list from her work and found this good doctor. His cell phone was not needed, but his home phone would help. I dialed it, and after 2 rings, someone answered. Oh dear, I was waiting for your call. I don't recognize this number, though. Is everything okay? Is this Mrs. Strathmore? Yes, and who is it? This is David Collins. My wife is the head nurse at the hospital where your husband works. I don't know if you remember me. Yes, Dave, I remember. My husband and I were talking about you and your wife a couple of days ago. I was expecting a call from William when you called. What can I do for you? So your husband is not at home? No, he's in Boston at a surgical conference. Everything is fine. Look, Mrs. Strathmore, I don't know how to say this, but I don't think he's there. I just had an argument with my wife, and she told me she was going to spend the weekend with him at the Marriott in Kenworth, which would end on Sunday evening. What are you speaking about? I think we're both being lied to. I have email confirmation to rent 7 adjoining rooms on the 7th floor from today through Monday. I saved your number, Mr. Collins. Let me get back to you. I've had enough of this crap, I said. I looked at the emergency call list and found the phone number of the hospital's Director of Health, Corinne Adams. I knew her. She and my wife were good friends. I knew her husband. He was a detective sergeant. I dialed her number. Almost immediately, she answered. Hello? Who is this? Karen, this is David Collins, Judith's husband. I heard a muffled, oh no. Yes, Dave, what can I do for you? Definitely scared. I think there is some impropriety going on between Dr. Strathmore and my wife, and I wanted it investigated and stopped. Sorry, Dave, I can't talk right now. I have to go. Click. Wow, that's weird. Almost immediately, Judith's cell phone rang. On the 3rd ring, feeling my stomach churn, I answered the call. Without waiting for me to say anything, the caller began, Judith, he knows everything. What did you tell him? And then I gave her a piece of my mind, not all, Karen, but gradually I found out. The shrill sigh on the other end of the line was very instructive. Goodbye. Click. I immediately found her home phone number and dialed it. 4 rings and a man answered. Look, I don't want to upgrade my cable service, Jerry. Looks like you've had a bad day. Who is this? Dave Collins, Judith's husband. Yes. Nothing but sales calls and spam. What's the matter, Dave? Is Karen home? No, I'm babysitting the kids this weekend. Karen's at a hospital-sponsored team-building weekend in Philadelphia. Why do you ask? I took a deep breath and told him everything I had learned and suspected. Is there any way to overcome all this? He asked. She clearly needs help, but nothing seems to have happened. Sir, she can talk to my lawyer about it. Remember, son, she loves you. I looked him straight in the eye and said, funny way to show it. The funny thing was that they all spewed out the same crap. Adults, all consenting, do nothing wrong until they are caught. It was then discovered that the good doctor had used the company's hospital credit card to rent rooms and pay for drinks and food for a weekend party. The hospital tried to avoid publicity, but 8 participants were listed as being on duty or at some fictitious official seminar or hospital event when this became known. Several marriages broke up. This was not the first party, but it was definitely the last one. I filed for divorce, but I'm basically a mild-mannered aircraft mechanic, do you remember? And I loved her more than my luggage, as they say in the film, so I let it drag on while she went to counselling. The kids were there for me and saw that at least I was making an effort, but it was so painful, and it just happened like a bolt from the blue. How could I be so blind? United Airlines was sympathetic, and I received extended medical leave. She lost her job, along with everyone else involved. The good doctor was fired and then sued and prosecuted. Karen lost her job, as did her deputy. There was a severe shortage of nurses, and several doctor positions opened up. My wife was the latest member of the sex club to be recruited, as they were looking for fresh meat. She had been noticed for quite some time, and Corin had been working on her, saying that she owed it to herself, that it would be a lot of fun. I'd never know, and besides, many husbands get pleasure from their wives having sex with other men. It took 6 months, but in the end, they convinced her. It took over a year, but I loved her and couldn't live without her. The old question, would you be better off with or without her in your life? I watched her like a hawk. I constantly bombarded her with questions about whether everything was okay with us or not. She reported, and I listened to her carefully. It got to the point where it was driving her crazy, but listening to her therapist, her parents, and our children, she knew I was making an incredible effort, and she loved me. God, but I believed her. I sued the hospital and Dr. Strathmore. I had to join the queue after his wife's divorce suit, but I was ahead of the other injured parties. Together, we cleaned it out. The hospital was not very lucky. We, my kids, and I settled out of court for a 6-figure sum in a sealed agreement. The remaining plaintiffs received a total of 7 figures in sealed awards. My daughter-in-law was not welcome anywhere. I don't know if her parents have talked to her yet. Am I lucky with the result, with how it all came out? The fact that at the right time, my mind turned on all 8 cylinders and the support of my children and my friends. I didn't think I took my marriage for granted, but maybe I did. No more. It took over a year, but we are back and our sex is damn delicious. Sometimes she sobs in postcoital bliss and apologizes for all the trauma she has caused, but it's gradually getting better. And like I said, I love her. But don't think I'm a weakling. About 8 months after this shitstorm, I cheered the doctor on as he left the gym. I beat the living dog shit out of him, breaking 3 of his fingers and crushing one of his balls. His good looks no longer exist. Luckily for me, I was in the company of a police officer at the time. So life goes on. Yes, I know, very tasteless, cruel. Don't mess with my wife and I'll stay meek. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you. And go ahead and listen to the next story because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.